No?
Mr. Secretary, the President talked about the deal with China that you all are negotiating. He wasn't able to actually announce a deal. How close are you?
Well, these are very complicated issues. We're making progress, but there's still a lot of work to do. Ambassador Lighthizer and I are heading to Beijing next week with a large team, and we're looking forward to continue to make more progress on it.
What will it take for the President to be able to say?
Go ahead.
The President said last night that he's going to be going to Vietnam February 27th, 28th. Those are the last 2 days before the March 1st deadline. He's going to be next to China. Is this going down the line of maybe a meeting with Xi Jinping in and around that February 27th, 28th?
I can tell you there's nothing planned at this time for it, but the President has talked about potentially meeting with President Xi, and we'll see what progress we make next week. I can tell you one thing about this President: he works very hard. Wherever he is, he calls me, so we're not worried about where he is at the end of the month.
Is it dependent on how next week goes?
I would just say there's no plan set at the moment, but right now we're focused on next week and in making more progress there.
How does the slowdown in the Chinese...
Can you confirm that cyber hacking has been added to the agenda in
We've always
Beijing?
talked about the cyber issues. This is something we've been consistently talking about with them, and the importance of them adhering to the cyber agreement. So this is not a new issue. This has been on the agenda.
Mr. Secretary, how is the slowdown in the Chinese economy affecting the trade?
Well, there's a slowdown in China, there's a slowdown in Europe. The U.S. continues to perform very well. We're really focused on our economy. We've been focused on, even with their slowdown, if we can open up their economy for U.S. companies, that's an enormous, enormous opportunity.
Mr. Secretary, as you know well, we're fresh off of a 35-day shutdown that in many ways people on both sides view as sort of a self-inflicted economic wound. Would you advise the President to follow through with another shutdown if his demands aren't met?
I don't think it's the President's objective to have a shutdown. I think it's the President's objective to have the Democrats and the Republicans come up with a compromise solution to put on his desk to sign. And I am hopeful we get there. These issues are very important. There's a wide range of border security issues. The physical barrier is one of them. Democrats have passed physical barriers in the past. So I hope that the Democrats and the Republicans are working around the clock to come up with a compromise for the President to sign.
The President has previously said that he believed that it would take him sitting down with President Xi and hashing out the final details of a deal himself to get it finished. So would he be willing to extend that March 1st deadline by a few days potentially so that he could swing by Beijing and have those talks in person?
Well, I'm not going to comment on what he will or won't do. Right now, the intent is that we meet this deadline. As you know, the President is involved in a very detailed way in these negotiations. Ambassador Lighthizer, myself, and the economic team update the President at least weekly, in many cases daily. He's involved in these issues, and if there are remaining issues that we can't get closed, I think President Trump expects that he's going to sit down with President Xi and address those issues, and we'll figure out if there's a need to do that when it is.
Characterize dinner for us on Monday night.
Dinner was great. It was a very casual dinner. It was in the residence in the Yellow Oval Room. It was quite productive. Jay Powell talked about the U.S. economy, a lot of things he's been saying consistently with his press conferences. The President was very engaged. We talked about everything from the economy to the Super Bowl to his game with Tiger Woods and Jack. So it was a very good casual meeting. I think, as you know, presidents and Fed chairs have sat down in the past. So I think it was a productive meeting.
Mr. Secretary, did the President undercut his aim?
Question. How would you evaluate the sanctions you announced last week on the Maduro regime? And some Democrats in Congress have written you and implied there are conflicts of interest involving you and the recent removal of sanctions against some Russian oligarchs. Would you respond to both?
Let me just first be very clear on the second issue. Any suggestions that there's any conflicts of interest are the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I've responded to this. News in the press that suggested that I had any relationships or anything else are ridiculous. There's a whole team of professionals in the Treasury that have been part of this, and we've been tougher on Russia in sanctions than anybody else. We reached what I think was a very good deal with Rusal in regards to it will now be controlled by U.S. and European board members. I would just comment there's a lot of factories in Europe. We have cut back we have now one of the biggest compliance programs. So any suggestions that there was a conflict of interest on my part are ridiculous and is just political hacking. And remind me what your first question was. Venezuela, I think the sanctions have been very effective. We've been focused on this for the last year. We've been turning the heat up on the regime. The oil sanctions are something we've focused on in the past. We decided to put them into place. I think they're working. We have the right balance of adjusting and meeting U.S. markets and U.S. refineries, and we'll continue to look at, we have all of our options on the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How close is the president to filling openings on the Fed board?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thanks, Tony.